All right, I think we can get started now. Good afternoon, and I'd like to welcome everybody to today's telehealth session, hosted out of Spokane, Washington. And thank you, everybody, as always, for being here. On behalf of the Parkinson's Resource Center of Spokane, we're pleased to provide this ongoing month in and month out, and certainly with the help of many of our supporters, both in the local community as well as some of our partners throughout the state of Washington. In particular, I'd like to thank the Northwest Telehealth for producing today's program. We've got Mark Harger with us today doing a fine job, and our host, St. Luke's Rehab Center. And additionally, I'd like to thank our sponsors who have been so gracious over time in helping make this happen, especially Northwest Parkinson's Foundation, our partners out of Seattle. Thank you for being there for us and making this happen. And additionally, Albertsons for their ongoing support, and Empire Health Foundation for helping us make this happen month in and month out. And of course, our volunteers who help each and every month produce this and bring this to you. And of course, all of you at each of our additional sites, our remote areas that are joining us today, thank you for your time and for your ongoing support. So as always, each month, as protocol is, we'd ask you to hold your questions until the end of the program. And as always, we will call on each site to inquire about any questions that you might have. And also I'd ask that remote sites, if you'd please at this time, mute your microphones in respect of today's speaker until we get to the Q&A portion of the talk. And lastly, before I introduce today's speaker, we'll take attendance at each site, so please be prepared as I call on you to tell me how many of you are in attendance today. So thank you for that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's program and today's speaker. With us today, we're very pleased to have Heather Allen. She's an occupational therapist working with Gentiva Home Health Services in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Coeur d'Alene,
there you go.
Idaho, excuse me. A little bit about Heather is that she has a degree in occupational therapy from the University of Puget Sound. Go Loggers, right?
There you go.
There you go. And recently, she was the only therapist in the Northwest to complete the clinical Ladder 2 credentialing for Gentiva Home Health Care. She's got 25 years of experience with a special interest in rehabilitation of older adults, and lots of work experience across pediatrics, inpatient rehab, outpatient rehab, skilled nursing facilities, and much more. She's a lead therapist and has developed specialty programs for low vision and fall prevention. She's going to talk to us today from an occupational therapy approach on Parkinson's disease with a focus on self-care independence using strategies of energy conservation, adaptive equipment, and fall prevention. So without further ado, let's welcome Heather.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll just put this one up there. Just want to thank you for having me here today. And I just want to say that what I'm going to share is, of course, from my perspective, but I just know that I learn every day from all of you in knowing what your individual needs are, and I grow from you as well. So, and as we know, Parkinson's, we all have different difficulties or challenges, and we also have different strengths. So hopefully some of this you can apply to your lifestyle. First, just want to review what is occupational therapy. And I picked a definition that I hope relates to Parkinson's disease. And areas of focus include adapting the environment, modifying the tasks, teaching the skill, and client education. And the main focus with this is activities of daily living. And it may also cross over into accessing the community, leisure, and work. As a member of the rehab team, the occupational therapist works closely with your physician, yourself, the client, the family members, physical therapy, nursing services, a speech therapist. All those people are part of your rehab team. You may also have other members such as your wheelchair vendor, your and also social worker as well. So those are just your rehab team. So we're kind of part of that large family, I guess we can call it. We also practice in various treatment environments. And I feel there's a continuum of care, and sometimes we end up in the hospital. And part of in that acute care setting, you can receive occupational therapy along with other rehab services. Also, in skilled nursing facilities, you can receive occupational therapy. Other environments may include outpatient, and other environments may also be home care services. Okay. We also practice under physician orders, so you can't just pick up the phone and go, oh, call Heather. So you need to work with your physician and make sure you have physician orders. And then once we do our skilled assessment, then we go back to the doctor and get your plan of treatment assigned by the physician. So he's always on board in what services you're receiving, and that's also an insurance requirement. All right. There's different areas of rehabilitation, and these three areas are kind of part of what OT will focus on. And one is restorative, and that involves improving your functional skills. If you have an impairment, a recent impairment or illness, you might have a decline in these skills. So we'll be working on restoring those skills back to your prior level of function. This may be retraining skills, retraining your muscles to do things again. There's also a compensatory approach, which is modifying tasks and the environment. And a lot of my lecture today will be focused on this area. Preventative is also an area of focus because we want to minimize the potential of any risks or falls. So this would be fall prevention. If you're you may be going to the gym, keep going to the gym. Okay, that's all preventative. Your home exercise program for your therapist may be all preventative, keeping you flexible and strong. So how does Parkinson's disease affect ADLs? And I think this list you can look at and see, oh, yep, okay, that makes sense, But these are some typical signs and symptoms that come along with Parkinson's disease. Of course, all of us will have different levels of progression. We may have one of these, but not the other. But these are all considerations in your treatment and occupational therapy. So the tremors your change in coordination that you may have, this may impact your hand dexterity for fine motor activities. Stiffness and rigidity may impact your ability to reach high up on a shelf or reach down to put your socks and shoes on. Slower movements, you may require increased time to get your task completed. Sometimes it's hard to initiate a movement, so there's some adaptations to help with that. Balance problems and your fall risk may increase due to your postural changes, and so those are always considerations as well. Fatigue and low task endurance. As we change and become less active, less mobile, we can maintain strength through other ways if our activity level isn't what it usually is. Pain can also be an issue, and we'll talk a little bit later about pain management. And also mood disorders, and under this category, I think of depression as we have a change in what we can do in our daily life. We may also have some changes in our motivation because maybe we feel helpless. We also may have increased anxiety because we see the change in our balance, and we have fear of getting up and moving because we may fall. Also, vision changes can occur. And this may impact your ability to process your visual processing skills. This thing can impair your depth perception, your ability to read, your ability to drive. And also cognitive changes can occur, and this can impact our ability to complete activities, which we call motor planning. It's putting steps together to complete the task. It may also maybe impact our memory, or it may impact our safety awareness as well. Okay, so OT is a large focus, of course, on maintaining your self-care independence. And the first category here is ADLs, and what that stands for is activities of daily living. And under activities of daily living are your basic ADLs. And these include your grooming, your hygiene, your toileting, your bathing, all of those areas. So a big focus of your occupational therapist will be assessing you in all of those areas. Also IADLs, and the I stands for instrumental ADLs, and these are the homemaking skills, I guess we could call them. They're the things that are above and beyond the basic activities. So these are really important, I think, from especially home care. We have a strong focus because we want to make sure you're able to function in your environment. And this list is really endless. You know, it's whatever is important for you as an individual. And that's what's so empowerment by occupational therapy, is that if you want to be able to, I had one gentleman, and I think it was important for him to work on his car. Well, how can he work on his car? So we worked on that environment. So you can take it wherever you need to go to keep that independence in your life. And MR ADLs, these are mobility-related ADLs. And I just started including this in part of what I do when I do home care, because it's how that patient or that client gets from A to B. Are they using a walker, a single-point cane, or do they need a power wheelchair or a manual wheelchair to go from A to B safely? So I think that's another area. It's not just getting to the sink, but it's how you got there in the first place. And then expanding that, and I've touched on this already a little bit about the leisure work and accessing your community. Okay, adaptive equipment and home modifications. And the first slide here is on durable medical equipment. And the durable medical equipment is really what Medicare uses, or your insurance uses to you can look on your plan and say durable medical equipment, and I'll talk about what's covered and not covered. But under that category includes the big heavy equipment, like a bedside commode, a hospital bed, a Hoyer lift, and shower chair, things like that. Also under this is technology. You know, if it's an augmented communication device, or it's able to answer the phone through a computer per se. So all of these are durable medical equipment, and most insurances, and part of your therapist, they're going to look at what insurance you have, what is covered, what makes sense, what can we get used, do we need a special vendor to come in to help assess your needs. So sometimes it takes a complete evaluation to really assess specifically what your needs are. Okay. And I was going to say too that under this category, sometimes with Parkinson's, it's a neurological disorder, as we know, so it has special funding through especially Medicaid, and private insurances have special funding. So sometimes it takes the therapist to actually do a justification letter to say why you need something above and beyond the usual what is covered, because Medicare covers well, they don't cover a bath seat. So they cover a commode, a wheelchair, and a walker. So it's pretty limited under Medicare. So, but we can justification letter all the time. All right. Okay, another area that I wanted to touch base on regarding adaptive equipment and home safety. And actually, I went out of. There we go, right there, is looking at your home access. And on the table here, I have a nice flyer. So at the end, you're welcome to come up and get one. But it just has some suggestions about your environment. And this is a nice picture with the bathroom. And then on the back is your bedroom. And it just talks about some fall prevention, things that you can do in your home. So you can feel free to grab one of those. And things that you want to just consider, and this picture here, there's a couple of things I would add, but in a lot of ways it also has things that I like. First of all, you can see the night lights there, so when you get up at night, you're able to see the path of where you want to go. There's no scatter rugs in place, and there's no cords across the hall. Okay, maybe something that I would add to this, and actually there's a nice rail there too, or you could put one on the left if indicated. And then I would maybe put color in here. Okay, it's a very white hall, so as increasing your access, maybe a little contrast color of where the door is may be a consideration. Oh, and I also want to mention here, thinking about your favorite chair, and it may be your recliner, and making sure it's high enough to get out of, has armrests, has a good back support. So looking at that as well, because we all have a favorite chair, and it's important to have that. Okay. Next one is a little more focus on the bathroom safety equipment. And things that we can consider in here is grab bars to hold onto, so that when you go from a sitting or standing position, you have leverage there for balance. I find grab bars also help when you're getting up at night and you're not quite sure how far you're in that bathroom. Well, you have a handhold to put your hand on, you know exactly where you're at. So it also helps tell you where you're at, how close you are. Also, shower seats are another consideration, and there's lots of shower seats out there. There's tub transfer benches where there's 2 feet in the tub and 2 feet out, so you can sit first and then lift your legs over the side of the tub, so it takes away the need to step over the edge of a tub. There's also stools. I shy away from stools. I always like a backrest. It just gives more trunk support, and it also is a handhold as well for getting in and out. And then sometimes you have to look at things that are a little more advanced, and considering, like with this tub here, there's companies now that will cut out the lip of the tub so that you can make it into a walk-in shower. I also have some clients, they're able to go a little further and take the insert of the tub out and put a shower stall in. So those are all things that require a little more planning. Also considering a non-skid mat for in the tub area, and a handheld shower so that you can sit to conserve your energy and you can put the water where it needs to go. And then also looking at your toilet and looking at your toilet height. And the ways to raise it up is the item covered by Medicare is a bedside commode. Okay, so that's always one option. It's usually not my favorite, and I'm sure you probably have the same opinion, just for the size and everything. So looking at a handicap height toilet sometimes, if that's an option that you can do, is a nice way to go. All right, self-care equipment, and this is talking about things that can make those basic ADLs a little bit easier. This may include eating, hygiene, dressing, those type of things. And so what I have here on the table, and I thought I'd just show and tell a little bit. So one tool here is a reacher, and it's a grabber here, so that you can learn how to dress yourself if you have a hard time putting your pants over your feet, or you're taking your socks off, or reaching high into a cupboard, or just walking around and you need to pick something up. Maybe it's a dog's toy. Okay, so this is very handy. Long-handled shoe horn, long-handled sponge. And I always think of where I can get things too besides the medical supply store and the dollar store. Okay. The dressing stick, one of my favorites. It's very durable. Some of my clients have limited arm use, and they'll use this to put things up on their hangers, up on their rods. This is great for pushing and pulling for socks and shoes, and it's $5. So it's a very easy item, very affordable. Another item here is a sock aid. This is, everybody who tries this says, oh, I wish I invented that. But have you seen this before a little bit? A little bit? Okay. You put your sock over the end, and sitting down on a chair, you put your foot in and then pull up on the cord, and it helps get your sock on your foot. So it's called a sock aid. Okay. All right, and then I have here for fine motor difficulties, this is a button hook, and it's a little metal lack of word here. Thing. Okay. And you put the button in, and you can do it as well one-handed, but it just helps with the small buttons. And then on the opposite end is the hook, and that's good for a zipper. Okay. All right, and then here's a built-up handle for a spoon. And notice this spoon too, it also has the spoon put into a little bit lower angle here so that you're able to get better scoop into your bowl. Okay. And then here is a rocker knife. Okay. So sometimes it's hard to use both hands to cut our food. So here's a rocker knife with a nice large handle where you can rock with it. Okay. For some folks, a pizza cutter will work too. This is just for opening up jars and containers, just so that it's ergonomically easy to use. Okay, so those are just a few items. And again, if you look online or in any larger medical supply book, there's a vast choice of things. Okay, but what's sad about most of these is that they're not covered by insurance. So we always have to be creative in occupational therapy and how to get these items. Okay, so we're going to move on from adaptive equipment and go on to energy conservation and task simplification, and learning ways so that we can use less energy when we do our tasks. So we're going to go through this list in a little more detail here. So the first here is you structure your day based on the on and off times and your fatigue levels. And if you're on your medication, and you're requiring that to get through your day, you'll find that there's periods in your day that are your on times, and it's a good time, it's a time to take your shower, take your bath. It's when your body is ready to move. And then the medication tapers and things become more difficult to get up and move. So that's what it is it kind of establishing that schedule for yourself when your body is wanting to do the most. And here I brought an example, and you're more than welcome to take one of these as well. And it's a little on and off diary, so that if you have some experiences on and off times and you want to communicate that to your doctor with what occurs and how long your medication is lasting, this is a little tool that you can do to help document that for your physician. So I just brought that to share with you. Also, pacing yourself and resting before fatigue. If you have a list of 10 things to do that day, you're not going to enjoy doing them, and you may only get to number 5. So then you'll think, I failed, right? So set yourself up for success. Put one thing on that morning schedule. Maybe it's going out to lunch, or maybe it's taking your shower. Maybe it's doing laundry. Maybe it is vacuuming the living room, but not the whole house. Okay, so I think a lot of this we do through a lot of common sense, but just making a schedule and so that you don't overdo things. One person told me, save your energy for what you want to do. Okay, so if you are getting tired, taking a shower, and then you're not able to make it to church that day, you probably didn't do what you wanted to do. You wanted to go to church. Okay, so incorporating the things I talked about was, with taking your shower, sit down. Okay, sit down or maybe take it earlier in the morning so you have rest time before you go to church. Dividing your tasks into parts. For example, your laundry, you may decide. Actually, laundry is I guess a fair example. We have to really divide laundry into parts anyways, but putting it in and then moving later to the dryer. When the clothes are dry, maybe you're putting on the bed and folding them, but maybe then you're waiting an hour until you put your clothes away. Another example would be making a meal. Maybe the day before you make the lasagna for the family, and then later that following day you make the salad. So it's just breaking things up and using your crock pot and all those things that just make life easier. Modification of tasks. Can something be done differently to conserve your energy. And there's an example of doing things seated. Instead of dressing standing up, sit down. Instead of standing to take a shower, sit down. If you're chopping a salad, can you sit down at the dining table rather than standing at the counter? I'm also, another thing I try to encourage with my clients is ADL workstations. And it's organizing your ADLs so that you don't have to get up and go every single time you think of something. So an example of that is maybe by your recliner. You have your phone, you have your crossword puzzle, you have the paper, you have your glass of water, you know. So you create a workstation so you don't have to get up every time you think of something. Another example would be a dressing workstation. Maybe in the morning you put your clothes out on your favorite chair where you get dressed in the bedroom, and so your clothes are already set up. So then when the morning comes, you're ready to just proceed into dressing. And everything's there. You don't have to go get the socks. You don't have to go get the pants, all those type of things. All right. Also, avoid overexertion because your recovery time will be a lot longer. And I think also overexertion, that probably increases fall risk too. And then I call this just right activity level. And this is something you have to figure out for everybody as an individual. And I think it's important that not everything is done for us. And a just right activity level is that the person that helps you may do 25% of an activity, but you're able to do 75. An example may be getting dressed in the morning, and it's hard to get the pants over the feet. Okay, so you may have help to get the pants over the feet, but you're able to then finish the task by pulling your pants up and finishing it. So it's just finding that just right so that you don't become dependent in things and avoid them, but doing parts of a task so that you're participating. So, alrighty. Okay. The role of occupational therapy in cognition and motor planning. And there's a lot of memory strategies that can be utilized. And one I brought here is a calendar. It's a nice calendar. Is that right, Wayne? Yep, there you go. Look at those nice numbers. Okay. So using calendars. Using lists of things that you, if your loved one is going out and says, oh, remember to take your medication, write it down. Okay, visual lists and reminders are all good. All right. And I go to my clients and I say, I talk about their memory strategies, and the first thing I take out of my blue bag for home care is my calendar. So we all use calendars, but as sometimes when we go through a disability or an illness, we pass that on to somebody else, but it's a tool that we all use and should really continue to be a part of. Okay. Sequencing strategies. Sometimes with Parkinson's, freezing can occur where our body just doesn't want to move. That connection's just not happening. So it's difficult for us to execute tasks. Okay. And ways that an occupational therapist and actually your rehab team may help in this area is by using cues. Okay, and as a caregiver to a loved one, you may be able to learn how to use cues to make that your loved one more successful and make things more easier for them to get a task completed. So there's verbal cues, which is push off with your arms on the armrest. Okay, that's a verbal cue. A physical cue may be taking their hand and putting it onto the toothbrush. Okay, that's a physical cue. You're actually moving their hand for them. Or sitting up from a chair, you might just give a tactile cue like this. Another type of cue is a visual cue. Okay, I love visual cues. Okay, so these are my dogs. And I use these quite a bit. And you can also use tape, colored tape, as visual cues. Sometimes it's hard to get, we get that change in our gait as we want to go through a doorway, or we don't know quite where to put our hand on that grab bar the chair before I sit? Is my walker out here and I'm sitting like this? Putting a line on the floor, a visual cue to put your toes behind the line so that you're safe to sit. So a lot of visual cues can be very helpful. Okay, and then also considerations of executive functioning. And executive functioning is our ability to plan. It's our attention to complete a task. It's problem solving, and it's our judgment and reasoning. Okay, so we will also incorporate some strategies in those areas to help you maintain your independence as well. Okay, and I already talked a little bit about the on-off diary and using that as a tool to help you find out the best time that your body is going to want to motor plan and sequence to get the job accomplished. Okay, visual perception interventions. With Parkinson's, difficulties with our vision can occur, and some frequent or more common things that happen is we may have decreased color vision, may have decreased tracking of our eyes, and this may impact our reading and driving skills, may have decreased depth perception, so that can impair our balance. We may also have some decreased focusing, being able to stay on an object and focus on an object and keep our eyes right there. Okay. How these can impact is our ability to have speed with our eyes, to scan, our rapid eye movements that can impact our processing of our environment. So considerations that are a little bit environmental as well as some, I call it vision interventions, I guess is what we'll call it. But lighting is one consideration. And things you want to think about is if you're sitting at a table, is your light, and you have the light, are you sitting with the light behind you, which is a preference, okay? If you're sitting if you're light sensitive and facing the window, that's going to be difficult for you to visually process. Okay. Have adequate lighting near your medications or if you're having to read so that you don't have to do eye strain. Increase your contrast. And because color becomes more difficult and our visual organization becomes more difficult, think about a white cup on a white placemat. Or that example that I had of the hall. Earlier, it was all white. So that is poor visual contrast. So to make it stronger would be a black cup on a white placemat. Okay, and here's an example of maybe some writing paper. Nice strong contrast here. So those colors make a big difference. Okay, and also organizing, visual organization. Okay, and an example of this is if you go to your drawer, your junk drawer, I guess is what we all call it, and sometimes those can become quite cluttered at my household, I know. And it's always hard to find something. Where's the rubber bands? Where's the batteries? All this. But if you organize the drawers into little organizers, I guess, like you would use for your silverware, then you would know every time when those items are, so you're making it visually friendly. Task simplification. Examples of this may be using your speed dial on the phone so that you don't have to go button to button. Okay. Prepared foods, things that are partially prepared so that you don't have to do something from scratch. Thinking about your medication labels, those are sometimes very hard to read, and I'm like, okay. And what's often what I will do is I will use this paper as a medication list, make it nice and big, and then I'll do is
Excuse me, this is the operator over at INHS. Can you use the handheld mic for us, please? We're losing your audio when you step away from the podium. Thank you.
Okay. Is this better?
Yeah, we can hear you over there. We just can't hear you when you step away from the podium.
Exactly here. That work? That's fine. Yeah. Okay. With your medications, I put numbers on them, and then I put numbers down the side. So that's visually easy. I'll even use color, color for the AM list, different color for the PM list or whatnot. So you can really make it more simple medications as well. Okay, and enlarge. And a good example was the printed paper that I had there, using that for the medication list. Phone numbers, make them large, not little print. And then your medication labels as well. Okay. Pain interventions. OT, we do have a part, because every time I go to see a client, I ask them, what is your pain level? Because I know that's going to impact their participation in my treatment. Okay. So being able to monitor your pain and manage your pain. So taking your medications routinely as prescribed by your doctor. Being able to rate your pain. And a global scale that a lot of hospitals and therapists and doctors use is that 0 to 10 scale, where 0 is nothing and 10 is most severe. So if you use a pain log, using that type of scale, writing down the numbers to make sure you have adequate pain control. I think it's also important to maintain your motor skills. And what I mean by that is maintain your strength, your flexibility, your movement. The less mobile you get, the more pain it is, or harder it is to get up and go. So that's why I think they go a lot like this. They mesh. Also, I have a tendency to look at positioning. Positioning can help relieve pain. Not everything has to be related to pain medication. And making sure you have the right seat cushion. Making sure that your favorite chair has the right level of support. Are you in a bed that is offering you good trunk support and stability? Do you need a hospital bed so that your head can be elevated? Those type of your physician. If you're having any medication side effects, or you're not getting the right level of control. Okay, let's see. We are on this one here. Okay, neuromuscular interventions and occupational therapy I do set you up on a home program. Okay, I think it's just good for us all to have, and I need to remind myself that sometimes I need my home program too, but to do every day. But one area that we will look at, and again, occupational therapy, I guess our focus is more the upper extremities. It's the arms, you could say, more traditionally, and your physical therapist would be doing more of the lower body balance and exercises and so forth. So when I put these up here, I'm really talking about the upper extremities. So range of motion and your tone. So maintaining flexibility and positioning is a strong focus for occupational therapy. And I brought my favorite exercise aid for flexibility. And this is an over-door pulley. And sometimes we need help to get our arms up, because that's what's difficult, is that rigidity. So this goes into your door, and then you put one hand on one strap and the other hand on the other, and it's a seesaw. It's this. Okay? And what's so nice about it is that it's pain-free. Most clients doesn't hurt them at all, and it makes you raise your arms up and move a lot more than what you can do with nothing. So you're getting actually more range, and you're actually getting trunk stretch as well. You can do sideways, so you can get flexion, and you can get abduction. So it's a really nice exercise aid, and that's called an overhead pulley. You can buy them at medical supply stores. I'm not sure who asked that. Yeah, medical supply stores. Also on the internet. Okay, and I was going to show you some other ones here. So we use this all the time in home care, and I think it's popular everywhere. My son went to outpatient, and he had TheraBand. So it's just a nice exercise aid for gentle strengthening. And it doesn't cost much, and usually a therapist will get this to you. And then the other thing I you can work on your grip strength, and we also show you how to do all your pinches as well. So it's a nice little exercise aid. Okay, and then also balance and fall prevention. And occupational therapy is more the focus of what we call dynamic balance activities. So static is where you just stand and that's it. You're able to maintain your balance, and sometimes that's all we can do. We have to be able to do this first before we can reach and do that. So in physical therapy, you might work on your static balance, and then in occupational therapy is going to have you reach for that glass in the kitchen. Okay, so we apply it to a functional task. Okay, I think there's also a psychosocial component of occupational therapy. And this is educating on the progression and changes and how they can impact your daily activities. And educating the caregiver in that just right level of assist. Okay. Replacing the loss of past activities with new activities. We talked about that leisure, that work and leisure, that community access. So if you're not able to get into the community anymore, how can you bring things back to your home? How can you engage so that we all maintain our purposefulness? And also the coordination of care for further professional support. Every day, I'm always a facilitator with my patients. And just having that professional person in your life to help you they're screening all the time. Well, we need to get this type of equipment, or should we get a social worker in, or we need to communicate with the doctor about this. So that's part of our role as well, is just to be a facilitator for you. And then caregiver education, and I think I touched a lot on that a little bit already, but showing how to do functional transfers, how to use your equipment the best way, just right level of care again, how to use good body mechanics when you're working with your loved one. Okay, so just in a little bit here at the end, controlling your environment, and just remember that it's your choices that you make in how much you stick with what's familiar, or you change into doing something different. And we can change our environment by changing things that are static or dynamic. Are we using a walker, or are we using the wheelchair? Are we standing to groom ourselves, or are we sitting to groom ourselves? So changing things to make it easier, where dynamic is more challenging. Familiar or novel is a task that we do every day. Maybe it's every day I put the coffee on, okay? But then I get a new coffee pot. Oh no, okay? New buttons, or I get a new cell phone, So all that, you don't realize how much that impacts our level of independence. So, and it can come down as easy as where do I keep my socks? Okay, if you move to a new home, label where your socks are. Give yourself those little bits of help so that something that's novel can become familiar very easily. And so that's how you can change and adapt your environment as well. And then the simple or complexity of an activity. How to make something simpler by using adaptive equipment, or simpler by using energy conservation strategies, or simplifying the task of something that's maybe more complex. So those are just how you can make decisions in your life. And then Parkinson's disease 101. No talking when walking. Do one thing at a time. Think about it and then do it. And remember, the goal for OT is to allow a person to live their life to the fullest. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. That was fantastic. A lot of great tips, a lot of great information. I don't know about the rest of you, but I especially like the putty because, as kids, you grew up with silly putty. You can do lots of things with that. You can take pictures off newsprint, you can, all sorts of fun stuff before we got all this high-tech stuff that most of our kids don't know anything about. But anyway, thank you very much. Great facts and information that can help people in their daily lives. So we really appreciate that. Okay, as we get into the Q&A, I'd ask that everybody open up their microphones now, and I will call on you, as always, by sight. We'll kind of mix and match here. And again, just a reminder, when I do call on our remote sites, if you would please inform us how many are in attendance today, that would be very helpful. And I'd also ask that you stay with us just for a few moments after our Q&A for some announcements and updates that we'd like to share with you. So stay tuned. Okay, so to get started, if you have any questions, I'd like to start with our friends in Anchorage, Alaska. So any questions out there, folks?
No, we don't have any questions. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. And there were 2 of us here today.
Thank you for attending. Appreciate it. Okay, Billings, Montana. At Deaconess Point.
We have 11, and there's a question. Just a moment, please.
Is it true that if you purchase some assistive devices through Medicare, like a wheelchair or a walker, that you are limited to applying for another such device for about 3 years?
Well, over in the room over here is 5 years, but I find that that's a misguidance. If you have any significant change of condition, you can requalify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions in Billings?
I said 11, yes.
All right, thank you. We can always come back to you. Clarkston, Tri-State Memorial Hospital. Any questions, please?
Thank you. No questions today, and we have 10 in attendance. Thanks for the program.
Very good. Thank you. Kootenai Medical Center in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Hello. We have 14 in attendance. We have no questions.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully it's sunny over there.
At last.
Okay, Providence Mount Carmel Hospital in Colville.
This is Mount Carmel. We have 3 in attendance, no questions, and it is sunny.
Nice to hear. Before long, we'll be complaining about the heat. So. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today as well. Dayton General Hospital in Dayton, Washington.
Did you see that? You didn't see that?
Yes, Dayton is here. We have 2 people in attendance. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We have 2 people in attendance, and your program was very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, Syringa General Hospital in Grangeville, Idaho. Any questions? Okay, we can always come back to you. Kennewick General Hospital in the Tri-Cities. Okay. We still connected okay? All right, good. Evergreen Healthcare in Kirkland, Washington.
We have 2 in attendance, no questions.
All right, thank you. Miles City, Montana.
There's 11 of us, and we enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
Oh, very good. And I suppose it's sunny there, too.
No, it's cloudy, windy.
Thank you. Okay, Samaritan Healthcare in Moses Lake.
There's 2 of us today, and thank you for the good program.
All right, thank you. Public Library in Pendleton, Oregon.
There are how many of us?
And a dog.
7 and a dog. It's bright and
you
sunny.
brought the dog again. Excellent.
You bet. He's a good companion. Question about endurance. If one is feeling tired, is it legitimate to take a nap? If so, for how long? Or should you just... So how do you integrate that into your plan?
Just not when you're driving.
Good answer.
All right.
Also,
Oh, go ahead. Oh.
also, is it, this is kind of a general question, is it possible to get a printout of the lectures before? There was a lot of information, and it was hard to get all the information down, so is it possible to get a printout before the lecture comes on?
I'm sure, and I'll coordinate that with Cindy.
And we can.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Or we can also get that to you afterwards. So the handouts that I shared today, so we can make sure everybody gets that. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I think that'll do it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Oh, they wanted to know how long. They wanted to know how long the nap should last.
Well, I don't know.
Actually, I'll answer that. I think it's always important for you to get a night's sleep. So never sleep so much that you can't go to sleep. Find that balance, I guess. And that's what it all comes down to, is finding balance so that you can engage in your daily activities, but also get the rest you need. But I think sleeping at night.
Thank you.
But power naps are good, though, right?
We all need those, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you. And don't let the dog drive either. Okay, Pullman Regional Hospital. Any questions out there? Okay, North Valley Hospital in Tonasket.
We don't have any questions, and there's 8 of us.
Thank you very much for joining us today. And Providence St. Mary's Medical Center in Walla Walla, Washington.
Yes, what was the last thing? She had 3 things, no talking while walking, 1 thing at a time, and what was the 3rd one?
There you go. Think about it and then do it.
Thank you. There are 4 of us here today. Thank you very much.
Giving your time to process what you want to accomplish. So.
Hey, any other questions, Walla Walla? Okay, let's turn to our Spokane audience today, and please, Waltz, one of our board members, is going to bring around the microphone. If you have a question, please raise your hand, please.
She wants to know where to get a shoehorn, and up here on the table I have a vendor flyer. So, a home medical supply store. And there's a resource up here if you need a resource.
And we'll make a copy of that available if anybody wants to get a hold of us. We can.
Okay. All right.
Most Parkinson's patients must have more.
Any other questions, Spokane?
Better, you're above average.
Okay. All right. Well, fantastic. Heather, thank you again for everything. And before we go, and don't forget, there's lots of stuff up here that you can stay for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Here for the Spokane group, if you want to take a look at that. And there's some handouts that you had too as well, I believe.
Okay.
So make sure you.
I will share those.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Make sure you take advantage of that. A couple of announcements for the group audience out there, our rural folks as well as our local Spokane folks. I want to thank Judy Sloan for all her hard work and tireless efforts for bringing the HOPE Conference, Hope for Parkinson's Education Conference, to Spokane. And I wanted to share a couple of reminders to everybody. The conference is Saturday, August the 25th, so it's coming up towards the end of the summer here. It'll be an all-day conference from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and they have a little bit of check-in time before that. It's going to be at Northern Quest Resort in Airway Heights, Washington, and there will be free parking. That's always a good thing. And right now, if you register prior to August 17th, you'll save $5. It's $20 if you do it early and $25 after August the 17th. And Judy shared with me that you can register either by calling, and there's a flyer that they have, Judy, and there's some out there for folks who want to grab it. Okay. And on the flyer, it has a phone number. It's 1-877-980-7500. Or you can go online to www.Northwest Parkinson's Foundation, or nwpf.org. And what I can tell you is this is an excellent conference, great opportunity for everybody to be exposed to a lot of great topics for education. They're going to talk about Parkinson's disease, the next revolution, wellness choices, music is exercise for the Parkinson's brain. And, of course, one of our favorite speakers will also be there, Dr. Anthony Santiago, to talk about cognition and non-motor features of Parkinson's. So I hope you guys will all take advantage of it. So please join us. And, again, there will be pamphlets out there available to you as well. A couple other things for the group-wide audience is our next telehealth is Monday, July 9th. Amy Cole will be hosting that out of Seattle, so that'll be hosted out of Seattle. And the subject will be advocacy, advocating for yourself with your doctor, at the hospital, and in the caregiver setting. And also, we have our annual fundraising event, our silent auction. So if you want to put October 5th on your calendar from 6 to 9 p.m., and that will be raising funds that stay here in the local community to help support all our Parkinson's friends and caregivers out there through the Parkinson's Resource Center of Spokane. And lastly, the topics, as always, if you have additional thoughts or ideas for topics for the rest of this year and into next year, please do contact us at the PRC or through Northwest Parkinson's Foundation and let us know what you're interested in hearing about. And as always, before I have one of our folks come up and tell you about our last announcement, you can get the DVD of today's talk by calling the PRC, and you can see that the number, and I believe the website's also on there. I'm not looking at it right now. It's small up there. But 509-473-2490 or the website at www.SpokaneParkinsons.org. So our last announcement, I'm going to ask Ms. Coloma to come up. She's from the Washington State University College of Pharmacy, and she's going to talk quickly about a Parkinson's survey. Please.
Hi everyone, so my name is Shayna Coloma. I'm a fourth-year pharmacy student with Washington State University. I'm doing a research project with both two pharmacists that you may know of, Dr. Josh Newmiller and Dr. Lindy Swain. And basically it's a research project for Parkinson's patients, and to get to gain an insight on your experience that you may have had in a hospital setting with how your medications were administered. A little bit about the survey, some things about it. The first part would be you would identify whether you're a caregiver or the patient, and then the other questions would ask about the timing of your medication administration, and then whether you had any symptoms or adverse effects due to the timing of your medication administration, and then just your satisfaction or to see how satisfied you were at the hospital while you stayed there. And let's see. So if your site has not already received it, because this was something that Dr. Newmiller actually handed out last week, if you didn't, feel free to contact Dr. Newmiller at jnewmiller@wsu.edu. That's JNEUMILLER@wsu.edu. And so we would greatly appreciate your time and effort if you could take this survey for us. Again, it's for people who have had a hospital experience. And for those of you who may have already done the survey in May, it's the same one, so you don't have to do it again. Thank you. Any questions?
All right. Okay. Thanks, Shana. All right. Well, again, thank you, everybody. for joining us today, and I'd again like to thank Heather Allen for the great talk and the great tips and ideas, and our hosts and sponsors and all our volunteers, and for each of you for taking time out of your day. So with that, everybody travel safely, and don't forget, we're not going to forget Parky. We'll make sure she gets that. But as always, we just want to thank you for being part of this great event each month. Take care.